Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a three. And in this particular video, I want to talk about what do you do after you've completed your MBA or your master's and what you might want to study next. So if you don't know me, I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out to get through graduate school that I decided to pay the favor forward and help you out as well. So if you were like me, um, you probably didn't quite know what you wanted to do after you completed your master's. So I did a master's in applied science, which was in management science. It was not necessarily an MBA, but I went through the same sort of experiences that you're probably going through, and you're kind of trying to figure out what the heck you're supposed to do with the rest of your life, right? And I still didn't necessarily know how to figure this out, but I stumbled into it. I got a PhD, and now I'm a professor at a business school, which is really cool. I can get into that, or you can watch some of the other videos in terms of all that kind of stuff. But really what I want to talk about is for you to think about how to make this decision, what you want to do going forward with your life. And that's really what this is all about, and sort of figuring out what to study next. There's lots of things that you can study. First of all, I'm not going to get into all those possible opportunities that you can study, because I want you to sort of think about, if you're thinking about this decision at this moment and sort of having this vague idea, or Googling, what to study next, or I guess it's YouTubing what to study next, you're kind of undecided at this moment. So I want you to think about a couple of things before you sort of jump into anything, because everything is going to be really, really expensive. And it's going to cost you a lot of money to take any of these courses. So I want you to be sure before you jump into it, because I know, a master's, undergrad, all that kind of stuff is really expensive. So we don't want you to go into any more debt unless there is a reason for you to actually pursue that particular direction and it makes sense for you. And even then, I'm not a big fan of, going into a tremendous amount of debt for all of this kind of stuff. So the first thing that I want to do for you to think about in terms of your career, in terms of picking your courses after the MBA, is for you to think about your future outcomes. What exactly do you want to do? And this is kind of like, going back to the second grade and asking yourself, what do I want to do with the rest of my life, right? And that's really thinking about these particular priorities that you want to set. And I want you to think about actual outcomes and actual priorities. So whether it's wealth, for example, or maybe you want a family life, or maybe you want to become an artist, you want some sort of, creativity that's infused in your career. I want you to sort of prioritize these things. And I want you to actually write this stuff down. I know it seems like willy-nilly, but it does work. And it's going to help you out in terms of what to do. And so how do you actually choose the things that matter to you? I want you to actually go through over the next week is just make a little diary and write down on a text pad on your computer, or maybe it is like beside your, just beside you. You just have a little piece of paper that you wrote down. And every time that you kind of daydream about something and it's about a particular thing, you probably should write it down and make note of that. And what you're trying to do at the end of the week is tally up the number of times, or the emotional reaction. You want to also write down the emotional reaction that you have to that daydream. And you want to sort of think about, is this going to be the right thing for you? And you could do this maybe even longer if you think a week is too short, but that should be plenty enough to sort of figure out what you want to prioritize going forward. The other thing, and the other way to sort of think about these behavioral outcomes and what you're trying to sort of what you want to capture on that gives you sort of pleasure and emotional response and all that kind of stuff, is to actually go through the list of your expenditures for the past year or past month or something like that. And just look at all the expenditures that you had and look at the things that you're actually spending your money on that you are, you're excited about. So whether it's going to the gym, or something like that, right? And you want to actually dissect what makes you excited about that particular thing. And I know that's not necessarily, it's not necessarily going to get you a drastic difference from what you're doing, but what you're wanting to look at is the sort of things, the features, the criteria that make you sort of excited with living and doing something, right? So it might be, so going to the gym might not necessarily going to the gym, but it might be sort of the sense of accomplishment or something like that that actually gets you going, and that's what makes you excited. It's not like actually going to the gym for a lot of people, right? Or maybe it's a challenge or something like that. And then once you have this list of all these sort of motives or criteria or priorities, whatever you want to call it, then you should probably start thinking about and actually write this stuff down. It actually makes a huge difference when you do this and you do kind of a brainstorming exercise when you're physically doing this, and sit down for a couple of hours one day and try to come up with careers where that kind of overlap with those particular areas. And you'll be smart enough to figure out those kind of things, right? So if you already have an MBA and you're thinking of you want to go into a creative industry, well, then something to do with sort of, or if you like creativity, something to do with the creative industry, right? So that's, PhD it worked well for me, but not for everybody. So there's lots of different careers that you can go into, right? That give you that creativity. And then what you're trying to do is prioritize and just sort of rank order. I know that you probably know how to do this, right? So you probably have a list of 30 different careers at that moment, or things that you want to do, and sort of jobs that you possibly want to do. And then, 30 might be a lot, but maybe you have 10. And then what you want to do is prioritize them in terms of, just ranking them and how much you're actually going to hit those priorities that you have. So maybe it's wealth. Maybe it is actually your family life, and you want to capture all those things as much as you possibly can. And then pretty soon what you'll have is a rank order. So I hope you understand what I'm talking or telling you to do, right? Just rank order these careers or different possibilities of where you can go. And it's really just thinking about opportunities for future growth of where you can go. And then once you have something that you really like, so maybe it is, for example, maybe it is the finance industry, right? You really like Wall Street for whatever reason. Wealth really motivates you, or the challenge really motivates you, which is perfectly fine and amazing that you want to do that. But I couldn't do that, but I know lots of people could, and it really would motivate them, and it'd be super cool. So just to let you know, what you should do is, once you have that sort of career in mind, the next thing is to start looking at the different outcomes that get you there, and the different courses to get you there. So the way that you do that is, once you narrow it down to like Wall Street, for example, then you want to look to see what other people at Wall Street have. What are the criteria that they have? So maybe they have a CFA, for example, Certified Financial Analyst designation. On top of your MBA. Maybe they have an accounting degree on top of your MBA. And what you're trying to do is just kind of look at, and you can easily find that stuff if you go to LinkedIn, right? And just Google some of the top Wall Street firms and see what kind of degrees that they have, or you can look at the senior folks in those particular careers. And what you're trying to do is just kind of mimic what they've done, and then follow the different courses and the pathway that they did to get to that particular location. The other thing that you could do is, you can contact people that are different locations like that. And that's totally fine. Probably not going to get a lot of response rate, but that is fine as well, right? Just know that they're busy, and they probably don't necessarily care about you because you're kind of some random person off the street, but that's okay. But really what you're trying to do is just begin this pursuit and what you want to do. And once you have that sort of career and the different things that they've done or what they've done, is you could actually start taking some courses in that area. And you want to look at maybe the lowest hanging fruit in terms of the courses that you can take to go into that particular area, right? And go into that particular pursuit. So maybe you want to go into, maybe you want to go into software development and think about software. Then what you should think about is, what are the possible courses that just ones that you could take around you. And you might look at these ones, maybe it's in, a local university or something like that allows you to get the opportunities to go in that particular space. And the other thing that you should be looking for is courses that are going to make you smile, not during the course. That's important, right? Like every course, especially ones that are good, are going to be a slog, and they're going to be painful. And then you're going to be unhappy with that particular response, right? That's just like learning and behavioral response that we get. It's work, it's challenging, and you probably shouldn't be happy too much. It's like climbing a mountain, right? If you're happy climbing a mountain, you're probably crazy. But once you get to the top and you look around, you're like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. So that's what you want to look at, is after it's done, after that challenge is done, are you actually going to feel a positive emotional response? And that's what you're looking for, is those courses that can do that. And that's where I would sort of pursue and get you to think about, right? Is what all this is all about is trying to get you to figure out what you want to do with your life, right? As we all try to figure out with this big thing called life, right? Nobody knows what they're doing. I hate to break it to you, we're all making stuff up as we're going, and what you're trying to do is sort of prioritize and think about where you should go going forward. And once you have that, then you can pick the courses and stuff that get you to that moment, right? And it's going to be a lot more efficient, it's going to be a lot more fun, and you're going to enjoy the process along the way. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. I do stuff all about graduate studies and becoming a PhD and all that kind of stuff, what it's like to be a professor and whatever. But anyways, give me a thumbs up and do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care. Bye.